Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Veronica Manning. I'm the Executive Director of Unified Vailsburg Services Organization. Where you are currently is in one of our buildings, and I just want to take this opportunity to just welcome you to our space. This is really exciting that we're able to host the city initiative here at our location first. West Ward first, of course. All the other words are great, but West Ward is the best word. So I'm really excited that this conversation is happening. It's so important for us as a community to come together. All of you in this room are leaders, every single one of you. Whether you have that as your job title or not, you are here because you are a leader. Everybody in the community obviously cannot be here, but because you are, that means you have the charge of taking whatever you learn from this conversation, whatever's important to you, and fanning it out and spreading it out amongst your community. So I see everyone as a leader in that way. And I think because the words quality of life means something different to everyone, it's really great that we're going to come together and talk about it and get on the same page around what are the common and collective things we can do to improve the quality of life in the city. So enjoy the day, and I'm going to hand it over to our new Community Outreach Manager, Sabrina Ross.
Just wanted to say a few words. Welcome again, and to let you all know about Heart of Vailsburg, which is a block club coalition. We have about 18 blocks that are under our coalition. And if you would like to create a block club on your street, you can always reach out to me or email us at heartofvailsburg@gmail.com. Also, if you have a Facebook, please like our page on Facebook, as well as follow us on Instagram and Twitter at heartofvailsburg.com. Just Heart of Vailsburg. And also, just welcome. I'm looking forward to having this conversation. And Natalie, thank you so much. So if you have any questions, also there are flyers of our upcoming events in the back. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And we meet every first Wednesday of each month. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'm Chris Watson. I'm a commissioner with the New York Environmental Commission, and we bring greetings. On behalf of our chair, we just want you guys to know that as a commission, we stand steadfast with the mayor in supporting all of New York's sustainability goals, and we welcome you to this event so we can definitely amplify our collective voices in transforming New York into the sustainable city we all want it to be. Thank you so much.
I just want to say a huge thanks to the Newark Environmental Commission as well. Chris just walked away. But for everyone who participates in the cleanup today, they've actually brought these beautiful bags. Can you guys see this? I love Newark. I keep my city clean, as well as you want one, so help with the cleanup, as well as t-shirts for everyone. So thank you so much to the Environmental Commission for that. My name is Natalie Augusta Fillon. Let me get my talking points together. I'm the city's Chief Sustainability Officer, and what that means is that I'm tasked with doing a handful of things. One is collaborating with city departments and multiple agencies to advance the mayor's priority sustainability goals and actions. Move it down. And the second is to engage you all, right? Engage residents, engage local organizations, collaborate with folks who are interested in advancing this activity, this work that's so important. To that end, I've worked with a number of planning committee members to organize a series of events that are taking place, one in each ward. This is the first of that kickoff. This is essentially the kickoff. Yay, West Ward. right on. And there's going to be a series of these, basically the next 3 weekends, Thursday night, and then in September we're going to do a big one as well. And it's all culminating with a large summit organized in partnership with Greater Newark LISC that's all about resident leadership. So those of you, I see some people nodding their heads. There's an annual Building Community Growing Leaders conference that's been happening for a number of years now, and that focus is going to be around quality of life, around sustainability issues in terms of training for residents, and also reporting out on the good work that we've been doing. The city's looking for ways to advance the actions included in our 2013 Sustainability Action Plan. And I brought my own tattered copy of this. I've been studying this very closely since I came on board in December, and am really excited to do an update process. It was written about 5 years ago. I'm guessing that many of you in the room may have offered comments about the sustainability actions and what were priorities at that time. And we recognize that we're in a bit of a new era, right? We have new federal leadership. If that's the word you want to use for that. We also have new opportunities, right, that have emerged, new leaders here on the ground that have priorities. And so that's what this entire Sustainability Action Plan update process is about saying, okay, where are we at today? Where do we want to be 10 years from now? What role do residents play in making that vision a reality? And how do we keep ourselves accountable to the work that we're trying to do together? So I invite you all to participate in the next iteration of creating this shared vision by being an active participant in this process, getting involved, and volunteering, which many of you will be doing today, so I really appreciate that. And then I'll just say that for the first year, 2017, like I said before, I started in December, and there's been folks in my position for a number of years now. But the mayor had asked me to prioritize 4 activities, and I just wanted to share what those are right now very quickly for you all. The first is a focus on community greening and stormwater management. We understand that our city is, at this point, over 350 years old, which means that our core infrastructure, the base that makes us run, is aged. And we're going through a process of making that new, of making it fresh, and in the process of it, bringing it up to a modern era, making it smart wherever we can do that, making it sustainable wherever we can do that. And all of that is in service to advancing the betterment of the city of Newark. I'm also working with colleagues on the issue of environmental code enforcement, and actually I should say that there's a lot more leadership going on than on my end. There's folks that are really taking up that mantra. There's folks in the Newark Environmental Commission who are really focused on idling and issues of air quality. You may have already received notices from Public Works about the importance of cleaning up and not littering, and there's been arrests taking place over the last couple of weeks for folks that are found to be dumping, like a lot of activity taking place there, yeah? And many thanks to the leadership of the community for doing that. Another priority focus area is around engaging youth. We recognize that really they are our future, as hokey as that sounds, and they have they've been raised thinking about sustainability, thinking about protection of the planet, and thinking about themselves as global leaders. And so really elevating that voice and making sustainability into the future really grounded in a youth vision of what that means. And last but not least, really being accountable, holding ourselves accountable to the commitments that we made 5 years ago, to the commitments we're made moving forward, and creating a dashboard, something to increase transparency around progress to date in the commitments that we make. So those are my top 4, and I'm working on that this year, and I hope that this update process really gives us a work plan for the next few years. With no further ado, I will introduce our 2 leaders that are here today. First, Councilman McCollum is going to come up and share a few words. One thing that I would ask is that you should have all received a copy of the little sort of FAQ about the event, and there's an executive summary included here of the 2013 Sustainability Action Plan with the priority focus areas that were identified then. You should also have received a little index card. We're asking, just for simplicity of sort of getting the questions onto the camera to be able to continue this conversation with folks that weren't able to be here today. I'm going to be reading off those questions for the mayor, the councilman to respond to. I can do some responses. Others here that are leaders in the community can respond. But just asking that if you could jot down questions that you have, that would be really wonderful, so that we can make wise use of our time and start the cleanup before the sun gets too high in the air. Thank you all, and first I'll have Councilman McCollum. Warm welcome, join me in a warm welcome.
Thank you, everyone, and good morning. And I want to congratulate everyone that's here for being here. This is how it works. We can do what we do downtown as elected officials, or we need the community, people who really care about the community and are willing to come out and get involved in the community. So I congratulate you on that. I want to congratulate the Sustainability Office. We have had a Sustainability Office for many, many years, I think started under Cory Booker's administration, but this is the first time that's actually being proactive and having meetings like this out in the community, getting people involved. So I want to commend you on that. and under the mayor's guidance and leadership, a lot of things are changing. We're talking a lot about environmental sustainability. There's many factors that go into sustainability: economic development, quality of life issues, clean streets. You know, in this ward especially, we have a terrible problem with illegal dumping. So one of my main tasks as a council person in this ward is to work with the neighborhood services to continually clean these lots. And it's a titan of a job, but it's something that has to be done. Clean the streets. We have a high rate of asthma in this city. So our air quality, we have airports here, many idling trucks down in the East Ward and throughout the city. So it affects our children. So it's very important. Quality of life issues. When we negotiate, me and the mayor, with developers to come into the community, we're asking that they get involved in what we're trying to do, improve our quality of life. If you want to build a 7, 8, 10-story building, what are you going to do for the community to assist us in having a better quality of life? Are you going to help put a roof on the library? Or are you going to help the rec centers? Are you going to help us have baskets for our kids? Are you going to help us clean our streets? To that end, public services, doing 250 streets in the city, helping us repave the streets. That's going to go a long way to us helping our streets look better. So for me, quality of life, urban sustainability is all relative, and that's what we do every day. Everything we do as a city is with the vision of improving the quality of life and increasing the sustainability over the long haul. One more thing I want to add is that they talk a lot about gentrification. I want to assure you there's no gentrification. I was reading the other day, in 1930 there were 442,000 people in Newark, New Jersey. Today we have about 280,000 people. So that leaves room for another 150, 160,000 people in this city. So there's room for everyone. So I just wanted to dispel that myth that there will be no gentrification as long as we're in leadership here. Okay, so with that, I want to thank you again, and we're with you, and we support everything you're doing out here today. And I have a health fair at Boylan Street Rec Center, started at 10 o'clock till 3. So we have the YMCA there and Seton Hall. Actually, we're doing with Seton Hall in the city, the mayor's office. And from here, we'll be going down there. So you're all welcome after you finish with what you're doing up here today, cleaning the streets and stuff. So thank you very much.
Before you go, on behalf of the Environmental Commission, we just want to present the councilman with the most coveted bag right now.
This is my guy. I think I'll put you on the board. Yeah. You scared me. I must go there. I look for security, man. The way you ran in there, right? Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. But excuse my attire. I'm on a Newark Police Department baseball team. And, we have that's how I sustain my ability. So, make sure I exercise and get out there and do the things that I need to do. So, I want to say, yes, the city of Newark had a sustainability office. They had an action plan done 5 years ago. Natalie just came and joined us. She's fairly new. Do not blame her for all of the stuff that was not happening. As a matter of fact, we never really had a sustainability officer. We never had anybody in charge of the whole. What we had is ideas and an office, but nobody accountable to help make these things happen. We brought Natalie on, and she's doing a phenomenal job and trying to bring everybody together in the community. Yes, it's a good thing when you have great people because you don't have to always run behind them. I know that she's doing great work. People tell me all the time, and you can tell by the product that's produced, so I appreciate it completely. Sustainability to us means economic, social, environmental well-being, right? How do you make our city sustainable, healthy, all of those things? How do you create a well-being for the residents of this community, and that's a huge task, right? So that's a lot of stuff. It's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes we give ourselves, as Natalie pointed out at one of our meetings, huge kind of goals that are not in themselves sustainable. They're not SMART goals, right? They're not actionable kind of steps that you know you can make happen over 1 year or 2 years. So you set the bar so high that you can't reach it and you let people down, right? So we need to get some real easy wins, some quick, low-hanging fruit that we can begin to move the community forward, get people excited about what's happening, grab more of the community on to our path, and begin to grow and grow and grow and grow and get people focused on what's happening here. I'm glad you've, in the West World, we focused a lot on littering and illegal dumping. We've been, I guess, over the last 6 months or so, been very, very aggressive around illegal dumping. One, because, you know, the sanitation department, we're just really beginning to get our sanitation department back in full force, right? And that means being able to get new trucks, lawnmowers, weed whackers, things we didn't have, whether you know it or not, right? All of those kinds of things, plows. We just started really purchasing a lot of things. We just did a $30 million, bond ordinance, which allowed us to purchase a lot of equipment. So that, and begin to bring more folks on. At our last Friday meeting, or the meeting before last, I found out that we had 40 in 2010, 40 code enforcement officers. We have like 12 now. So obviously, the cuts were huge. I just didn't know how severe they were, right? So we are bringing some back, and some of the problem is me, because I get into these big projects and we need all of the code enforcers. I always say, "Oh, we got to hit this area," and we hit it, and then we leave a lot of stuff open, and then we have 1,000 complaints because we just don't have enough code enforcement officers. And to begin to realize that, we have to begin to bring more people on and do what we need to do to hire more code enforcers, because they're just as important. When you see them now out here, you see the results in our community of not having the code enforcers out to find people, to aggressively go after folks who are violating the laws, to making our community a mess. We need code enforcement. So when we do stuff like Garden Spires, it takes all 13 of them, right? When we have to do 500 apartments in huge high-rise buildings, 2 or 3 times a week, it takes everybody off, right? And unfortunately, we have those type of people who've been in our city for decades. And we can't say, "Oh, this is a huge task. We're going to have to let them do that. We're going to have to hit them, but then regroup and go back out here and do what we can." But, as Natalie pointed out, we have made some significant arrests of illegal dumpers. And some of the kind of patterns that I think people should know is a lot of these illegal dumpers have U-Haul trucks, right? So they have those big moving trucks. So if you see them big moving trucks on your block, you should pay attention. So they're not just pulling that stuff out of their car, right? Because there's a lot of stuff. So you try to figure out, how did they get all? They must have been out here for hours doing this. Well, they got these big U-Haul trucks. They take the U-Haul truck and they dump all of this stuff out. The great thing about it is we catch them, we get to keep the U-Haul truck, right? Well, we get to keep the things that they have. So, and we fine them, of course. It's not a criminal complaint, so they don't really do any real serious jail time or anything like that. So it's not a criminal complaint. So obviously they pay if they can, and they back at it because it costs more money to dump the garbage than it is to pay the fine. So it's difficult. That's why we need as much help as we can from the community to help us run some of these people down, because when we dump it, every time the city comes out to clean up something that you say is a mess, we got to clean up, you're paying for it, right? Your taxes are paying for that. Because every time we dump garbage, we have to pay to get rid of it, which is why people illegally dump. So most of the illegal dumping, thank God, is not happening by just your regular neighbor who are throwing out garbage bags. Some of it is, but the majority of it isn't, right? It is basically developers. And the small guys who you see cleaning out houses or doing construction work, they have to pay to get rid of that garbage. So instead of paying to get rid of it, or somebody you got working on your property, who you say, I'm paying you such and such, and you don't know. You don't know what they're going to do with that garbage after they clean out your house or your backyard. They drive it to a lot and they dump it, right? Because they would have to pay otherwise. So that's a crime, of course. And when we do it, we pay. So it's important for all of us, incumbent upon all of us, to make sure we catch these folks and let them know. And then just the regular care that we have of our own neighborhood and our own blocks, right? Just the regular care of our own streets. make sure our lawns look good, the front of our house is well kept, we're not putting garbage out too early that are attracting rodents, we're not leaving it out too late, we don't have the front of our yards a mess. You know, we clean up the store owners are cleaning up in front of their stores. There's an ordinance that says they have to clean it up in the morning before they open, and right when they close, they have to clean up from the door to the curbside, right? So they have to clean up. We have to make sure that they're doing that. When you're going in there, patronizing these stores, you have to remind them. You have to clean up out here in the front. You know, it's a law to clean up. And if that's not happening, you should give us a call, right? You should give us a call. And if 4311 takes long, call your councilman, call our office, and 4311 might take long because there are thousands of complaints on 4311. We responded to them, and the good thing is that every Friday, we track those complaints. We track the complaints, how many came in, how fast we are responding to them, and what most of the complaints are. So we are tracking them. And most of them is garbage and debris. Most of it is garbage and debris. So I'm glad that you guys are focusing on that we're going to clean up. You know, and if we can get all the neighborhoods to do that, we'll be one step closer to the victory that we're trying to get and making sure our neighborhood is clean and sustainable at the same time. So that being said, thank you, Natalie. Great job. Thank you, VSO in the heart of Ellsberg, of course.
Just going to start with the first question, but just bring them back up. I'm not sure it's a question. Oh, okay. What it says is chip in on recycling containers with monetary reward. Problems with street cleaning, no water, creating pollution and asthma issues. So if
That's true, by the way. Yeah, the street sweeper folks, we fuss with them all the time about the use of water, and they're not using it. We've been fighting to get a new contract. Hopefully we can make that happen as soon as possible to get some new folks doing it. We're completely fed up with those. Well, I am fed up with that group.
with our taxes rising, why is it necessary to have another layer of bureaucracy, the Sustainability Office? Why couldn't the existing agencies, sanitation, code enforcement, et cetera, handle the problems we have? And I can take this one if it helps.
Sure.
So my task is not to create a new office, but rather to create interdepartmental collaboration, to create the systems by which we hold ourselves accountable to sustainability-related issues in all of the departments. So I'm more of a facilitator and a connector. I'm not building my office so much as I am ensuring that folks in all of the different divisions are doing the things that we've collectively. And the thing is about sustainability is that it's environmental, it's economic, it's social, it's a lot. And so no one agency is necessarily like point person unless you have a leader who is on top of that. And we can't expect that we'll always have a mayor who's as dedicated to sustainability as Mayor Baraka is. And so that's why you create these processes and these documents to hold ourselves accountable. So that's my response, at least.
Plus the gag is, right, we pay for the sustainability officer through a settlement from the HES fund, from HES. Some folks who were doing some stuff that might not be sustainable. So we're paying for the office through that and not the taxpayers' money. So that's a great thing. Right? As long as we can.
And I'm also doing lots of fundraising. I already brought $25,000 in and a couple of support, and continuing to put more and more bids out grants out. If it costs more to dump, why don't we raise the fine?
We absolutely should raise the fine. I don't disagree with that at all. That should happen immediately. But it just takes legislation to make happen. But you know, ultimately, what we're able to raise the fine to will never match the amount of money that they would have to spend to dump that garbage, the tonnage. It'll never match. So it'll always be cheaper for them to pay the fine, unless we catch them very, very frequently and fine them very, very frequently. The same folks, and make sure that them doing that becomes cost prohibitive for them. Good.
Can I throw a piggyback on that? Sorry about that. Then also, how about those that are caught dumping? How about they do community service?
That's good. No, we thought about that, and again, this is going to take legislation. We're going to have to, carve out the legislation on a local level to be able to make that happen. I agree with that. The community service is a good point. especially local guys. We already put their face in the paper, but that's not enough. We put their face in the paper now.
I have a question myself. Since they get a fine the first time, won't the fine increase the second and third time?
That's right.
Yeah, but it's still
Still low?
yeah, it's still low. It's still low. It's these folks are not getting fined thousands of dollars. So let me just say that, right? That's not what the fines are. And the city has limits about how much we can fine. We can't put people in jail over a certain amount of time. We can't do all of that because it's municipal code, right? Municipal code. So, but we can fine them. Just how much it costs to dump is always going to be higher.
And the hope is also that one of the actions in this plan is the idea of making a zero waste policy. So the idea that we incentivize recycling, even hard to recycle materials, that those become value add products. So that if people go and drop off materials, that they're gaining dollars, that they're getting money in the same way that you can get 5 cents for a can or whatever. And some of these, the idea is to sort of create those systems so that enforcement is only one piece of the puzzle. Education is another piece of it. Incentives are another piece of it. Policy development is another piece of it. So trying to tackle any of these issues from multiple perspectives. There's a question here about linking information from the Kresge Resiliency Action Plan to inform residents and institutions about sustainability projects and programs that are taking place in Newark. And that $25,000 grant that I had mentioned previously is actually working in partnership with the partners that are part of the Resiliency Action Plan. So ICC, Ironbound Community Corporation, Clean Water Action, there's a number of folks here with Clean Water Action shirts on. No, it's not. I'm sorry. CWA. And also the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance. We're able to win competitive dollars from Kresge Foundation to do some of this work, and we're continuing to sort of advance partnership with them. I'm going to skip questions that were already asked. School building boilers spew back black smoke in the air on the Alexander Street School. So, and also, can we demolish abandoned city-owned properties? I'm clumping those for now. Either of you guys familiar with the issue at the Alexander Street School? Councilman,
I'm not familiar with that.
there's an air quality issue with boilers spewing black smoke at the Alexander Street School. Are you familiar with that or want to comment on it? We'll have to follow up with that one. And I also brought my cards here. If folks want to follow up, I can serve as a connector. A question about quality of life for the child care workers and early education teachers. These folks have been fighting for their first contract for over a year. Half of the workers make less than a living wage while they serve the rest ward. How can you support these workers and their quality of life?
I didn't hear that last part.
How can we support the early childhood workers and their quality of life, raising the wage or getting a union?
You want me to answer all of the questions?
That one's not completely directed to sustainability.
No, I'm saying all the ones you just read. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. That's one question. It's all combined. Yes.
So first, the demolition of buildings, we're doing that. So it's just a lot of abandoned property, and we are demolishing properties. We just did 2 in the north this past Thursday. We're getting ready to hit this one on, what's that, Norwood? 22 Norwood. So we've been raising property. We did another one over, we did a couple what we did the last Occupy the Block, can't remember. On the side street over there, we did 2. No, not Smith. So we are bringing them down. It's just a lot. And it's a process, so we can't just look at a building and say, we're going to tear this down. Even though I harassed them to do that, they can't do it, it's various reasons. If it's privately owned, we have to go through a process, because this is, America, capitalism. You can't just tear down people's property, right? We have to engage them and do all these other kind of bureaucratic things in order to tear their property down. But if the fire department says that the property is dangerous, that the foundation itself is weak or is going to fall, then we have more leverage to tear the property down. Sometimes the base of the property is good, which is a problem, and the other part looks a mess. So it is sound still. It just looks terrible, but it's sound, right? And if it's a city property, it's easier for us to tear down. But if the bank owns it, then of course we have to go through some stuff with the bank. But we are getting them down.
I'll say something about that. One thing about the properties, it costs a lot of money to tear property down. So what we're actively trying to do is sell these Newark-owned properties to small developers, let them develop the properties, sell them to them, let them develop the properties, and it takes the city off the hook for $30,000 and $40,000. So we're actively doing that. Every council meeting we're voting to sell city-owned properties to small developers.
This is a related question, so I'll just ask it quickly. Is the city using state legislation to address slumlords' daily fines as proposed by Senator Rice?
Yes, we definitely doing that, without question. We are doing that. So we'd have to fine them daily. We have to keep going out there and doing that. So part of that is an issue. So we might hit a property 1 week, then we'll go get it a month later, or 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later. So we don't have the people power to go out there every single day to the same property and keep finding that property. But every time we come across it, we find them. So we do use the legislation, not as much as we would like to, because we don't have as many code enforcement forces as we would like to. And I'm gonna address you. I got you. I didn't forget.
I'm going to address that.
Okay, yes.
Introduce yourself, please. Yes.
Oh, everybody here knows I'm Veronica Manning, the Executive Director of UVSO. I want to address the concerns of my CWA members here about the child care workers and the quality of life of them. I want to assure everyone in this room that the quality of life of our child care workers, as well as all of them in the city, all of our workers at UVSO, is of utmost importance to us. And we are still in the process of negotiating with the CWA to come to a fair agreement for everyone. And that is an ongoing process. I'm committed to continuing and completing that process and having a fair contract for our workers and working with the CWA to make what we do here at UVSO good and fair for everyone. A part of that fight is with also the contracts that we have with the Newark Public Schools. We want and are fighting for to get the amount of the contract paid in full that we were promised. So it's a coordinated effort to make sure that the monies that nonprofits and community development corporations receive is as promised and is enough to pay and continue to have quality of life for all of our workers. So that is important to me, and we are not going to stop until that is achieved.
Thank you. These two questions are related, so I'm going to just ask them back to back. It has to do with how the city is engaging public and private developers to enhance smart growth policy, and also a comment, one of the best ways to improve air quality is to get people out of their cars. Can the mayor prioritize public transit in the city by investigating dedicated land to certain corridors? So this idea of sort of smart growth and transportation and how that links to air quality.
That's a great question. We obviously think about these issues every Thursday. We have a economic development meeting to talk about all of the development that's happening in the city, from stuff like Riverbank Park to huge, to changing of the zoning ordinances, to huge development, to small development that happens in the neighborhood, how to make it sustainable, to parks that we're developing, amphitheaters. We go over all of those things. So it's important for us, and part of the tools we do use is through the zoning board, right? So, and through other things that we attach on to development projects that we say, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. What we do need to know is that a lot of developers are going to the state legislature to make it difficult for us to use the zoning board as an opportunity to put add-ons or tag-ons into a lot of the development projects that are taking place in the city. So right now we have a cumulative impact ordinance, for example, that every time you bring something on, you have to measure the impact that it's going to have on the environment in the city when you build it, right? So there are folks that are going to the state legislature trying to get them to, dial that back, so it becomes prohibitive for the city to say that you have to do all of these things in order to change the ordinance, right? And we know that's not how it works, right? They want us to either agree or disagree, and that's not. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, right? Sometimes we have to give a little to get what we want, right? And that's how we begin to win. We don't always want to lose. We can't have no development, because we need some development, because we need the dollars, so we have to pay a bunch of taxes, everybody. We need more development in the city, but we also need it to be sustainable. We need to be able to tell these developers we want them to put green roofs, we want them to do, the surfaces to be pervious, we want to do all these other kind of things that we tell them to do, and we consistently do that through individual negotiation and planning with every individual project. It'd be great if we had kind of boilerplate ordinances that we're putting together tax abatement ordinances, inclusionary zoning ordinances, all these ordinances that would make it easier for us so we don't have to make these individual kind of deals with every single person. That is just a boilerplate that said, if you're doing this, you must include this, you must include this kind of roof, you must do these kinds of things. But the last part of it is we are dedicating certain parts of the wards for the creation of public space, right? So we are, so for example, we are redoing the Clinton Avenue corridor. We took a piece of the Clinton Avenue corridor and we made an amphitheater. So we did art around the sidewalk. We took the part around the precinct, we turned it into a kind of park area. We built a stage out there. So it's gonna be an outside amphitheater for public space. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to do in each ward as we plan the development that goes around. Some of the property is not ours, so it takes a lot of negotiation, usually with the housing authority and a few individual developers.
This is also related, I'm going to pick questions that sort of build on the last comments. Is there going to be an initiative for first-time home buyers to purchase property in any of these redevelopment areas?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have that now. We have the sale for city-owned property first for city workers. And before that, we had the Valentine's sale. Now we're working on something called homesteading, right? And what the homesteading ordinance would allow you to do is to find these properties, almost first come, first serve, that are in your neighborhood, specifically infill development in the West Ward and the South Ward is where we're targeting first. So you begin to identify that, but you have to go through a program with the Urban League that takes you through home ownership, financing, all these things. Because the problem that we learned when we did the Valentine's sale is that people they wanted to come get the property, they just didn't have the knowledge of how to finish. Right, so they had property that they wound up having to give back to the city because maybe about 30% of the people, which is a good number, 30% of the folks in that Valentine's sale actually went and built a home with that, right? We want to grow that number, and we found out that a lot of those folks needed some counseling, right? They needed to go through a program, show them how to buy the house, how to get it redeveloped, how to stay in it, right? All of those things take work. How to find a financial institution, get a mortgage, all of that stuff. So you're going to go through the Urban League first, and then the property becomes yours through the Urban League. But it's going to be homesteading. You know how they did that before? Stick your plot in the land is yours. Close to that.
On the other side of that, when contractors bid to build here, are they required to invite apprentices so that folks from the community can start learning that industry?
Yes. So there's a full piece of that. One, the city has already taken a dozen or more small contractors, through a program to get them to bond, to be able to bond or participate in the kind of stuff that we're doing in the city, right? So that's one. Before that, we called we sent the RFQ out, and we got maybe 40, 50, 60 responses from all small and mid-sized developers in the city, and those that qualified, we gave them property at a very low rate so they could redevelop, like homes, small buildings, that they redevelop 1 or 2 properties a piece, that they redevelop and begin putting back on the market themselves. The last part of that is we have a tax abatement ordinance that has to be passed, that the administration sponsored, that's there, is deferred, hopefully it get passed. That says that if you're doing development in the city and you get a tax abatement, that you have to have a local minority co-developer on all of the property that you develop if you're getting a tax abatement on that property, right? So right now it's in the hopper. Hopefully we get it passed soon.
Thank you. These two I'll lump together. There's a question about the need for landscaping at Boylan Rec Center. I'm going to skip the one about the lifeguards because it's not directly. And the city has a budget to cut trees, but not to plant or maintain them, according to Vicki Washington. When will tree care become a priority?
That's true. Right. So that we need like a forester or something y'all talking about. Right? So
He said it, right? It's on film.
so we got guys. They cut the lawn. They not fancy. You understand what I'm saying? We give contracts to local small developers too, to to landscape property, right? They do our medians, they do entranceways, they do a lot of stuff. So we pay, you know, and we do that because we want to procure more money in the city and get these small guys some jobs. Obviously, these guys are not horticulturists. They're not, you know, they not those type of guys. You know, they're gonna cut the thing down, clean up the debris, and keep it moving, right? So they're not planting flowers and all of this stuff, and they should. It look nice. So we need to really think about that side of it. How do we get, you know, some folks, or maybe we could do some community kind of opportunities for people to adopt certain things and do stuff like that. Even our guys who do the Boylan Street and do the city property, those guys get a weed whacker. That's what they do, and they keep it moving. Right, so.
Yeah. In a second, I'm going to have my AmeriCorps Vista, who just started about a month ago. Her name is Corinna Assing, and she's going to be working and recruiting volunteers. Sorry about that. Recruiting volunteers to help with tree planting. The $25,000 grant is for rain barrels to collect rainwater off of buildings and help with the street flooding issue. Planting trees and also installing cool roof. It's like a white material that goes on roofs to keep the building's energy costs down. And once Corinna comes back in the room, she'll just say a quick hi, because before long, I will be emailing folks who signed up, so please do sign up, asking, are you interested in volunteering to plant trees, to put rain barrels in your home, in your neighbor's home, at a local business? Are you interested in cool roofs? And basically that's an initiative that I have going on, and I'm very excited that others here are interested in that as well.
Yeah.
Landscaping, the hedge is growing so high, you can barely see when you're in the pool. And I go there to exercise. So on one side it's fine and the other side just needs to be cut down.
Okay.
I don't know how often they come back out, but at least maybe once a month, because it's growing really high.
We'll take care of it on Monday. Let us know. I'll get on them there. Coming. Khalif does a great job, so he'll make sure those guys come out and get it done.
And Corinna, can you just step in just to the trees? So guys, this is Corinna. When we are putting the word out about planting trees and the rain barrels, she's going to be the point of contact. And Pam wants to say a few words too, and I'm just going to say that have been incredibly blessed to have Corinna with me. She just got accepted into the Peace Corps, and so she'll be in Thailand in October, but she's in January. She's with us till October doing this initiative. Thank you. Pam, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I just comment on the tree piece. The New Jersey Tree Foundation. The New Jersey Tree Foundation has a great program for blocks who are interested in planting trees. There's a 10-tree minimum. The varieties are local, so they won't be the huge maples or the huge oaks that we have here in Vailsburg and in many areas of the West Ward. So it takes you to organize your block and decide, where you want to put the trees down, but that is definitely a free resource. Also, there is the Tree Foundation also has it's submitted in the past, but also has a landscaping and tree maintenance program that I know they're in. Tree Keepers program. Well, the Tree Keepers is more on the maintenance side, but on the job development side as well. I know in the former administration it was something that they tried to move forward, and it's something we would like to, VSO would like to support, again, if it's an opportunity to train young people to learn how to do basic landscaping and tree care. So that might be a workforce development opportunity that we can partner on as well. So that was it.
Okay. I'm not sure that I'm going to have time to get to all the questions, because we definitely are going to want to do the cleanup today, but I just wanted to ask to follow up. So we're immediately after this, we're going to be doing some cleanup. Folks are going to, everyone who volunteers will get a bag and get a t-shirt, so please do volunteer and come back. We've already got a volunteer, Mr. Owens is out back grilling hamburgers and hot dogs, so there's going to be food when you come back. We got a DJ, come back and let's spend some time together and let's continue this conversation. What would you like residents to know about how they can help notify the city about illegal dumping, about littering, about those kinds of issues? How can residents and report people who are doing that?
Well, there's a bunch of ways. Obviously, you can call the 6,000 number. You can call 4311. After the fact, you can make sure you have a relationship with your precinct and the precinct commander, the community resource officer. You can make a call while you see things
The
happening.
Community resource officer's here today.
While you see things happening. We also have an app, right? So you could go to the My Newark app on your phone. You could download My Newark app on your phone, and you could take a picture of it, and you could send it right in on your app, right? You could send the license plate of somebody that you seen doing it, right? And send it right in with a written complaint, a form of what you saw, and then we can investigate based on that, right? So there's opportunities for you to help us.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to be rude, but so I was a local person. It's we discussed it with him in a previous meeting, but we have a great problem in the West Ward. That's why I gave you this, because I need to address it with people maybe who are from the Ivy Hill section. But we have a problem with a woman who walks the street.
Specific person.
Right, specific. That's why I wrote that. I wrote that. That's the only reason I
was just trying to
I mean, I know this is extremely important. I already cleaned up her area along Varsity Road twice this week. Now, I put it in some big bags and I left it, but they picked it up. What I'm afraid of is it's 743 Sanford Avenue in Ivy. That spot where she continued it twice, our great mayor and the sanitation department cleaned it. She's going to do it again. So on behalf of the Ivy Hill and the West Ward, the lady, according to what I'm hearing from the school crossing guards and other people closer to the area, is an undocumented resident or whatever. The mayor has a, I forgot the amnesty or whatever. Yeah. But if she's continuing to take advantage of the city, then I think she should be reported to immigration. I know we're a sanctuary city, that's the word. But in light of me cleaning the streets, and I'm getting kind of like worn out, but she's making it more difficult. That's it.
Yeah, we don't want you to be frustrated. We don't want to put sick ice on her either, but we don't, and the frustration of it, that's the first that I've heard. I know that we clean that area because we talk about it all the time. So we're going to have to identify. Obviously, there's some other issues involved here, and we're going to have to put the health department and some other people on top of this. This is larger than just her being a nuisance.
The lady has been a nuisance for a long time. I'm aware of it. We picked her up several times over the last 4, 5, 6 years, and she appears mental, but when you pick her up, she's not that mental. She knows what to say, so they'll keep her. Like a month ago or so, I had her picked up, cleaned up the area. They took her. She spent one night in the YMCA. Then they took her by Reverend Durr's. She's smart enough to know she didn't want to stay in Reverend Durr's place, right? So she's back out there. When I broached it to the Ivy Hill Neighborhood Association on whether, I said, well, I have to call immigration and naturalization. They don't particularly want to do that. So I said, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? So they have to decide what they want to do, because it's not going to change. You're not the only one having issues. I was with someone the other day. He complained to me all night about she was on his lawn and moving his flowers and stuff. So we have to decide as a community how we want to address it, because it's not going to stop. And that's, as you said, immigration is the only alternative that I see.
Well, obviously something wrong with that lady, man. I don't care what y'all talking about. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I mean, some people are functional. You know what I mean? Some people are functional.
When they assess her, she knows what to say.
There are people who can't read who know how to manage. You know, they functional. You become functional in society doesn't mean you don't have any real serious issues. So let us put the health department and some folks on that first. Let us try to go that route.
They picked her up.
Yeah.
The ones picked her up last month.
Let me get involved and see what's going on, please. Before we have a public lynching. We don't want to do that. We want to take make sure everything is okay first. But she on people's lawn. She better be careful.
Exactly, because he was very nice.
Everybody as nice as you, man.
Kenny Richardson,
We got a question here about charter schools and the need for textbooks in schools. Why do we keep shutting them down? Why do the schools not have books? It's not directly related, but I don't want to completely ignore the question since we have an educator with us.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, why do we keep shutting, that's not happening. That we keep shutting charter schools down, that is absolutely not happening at all. There's a couple of schools that have been shut down, a couple of charter schools that have been shut down, but any charter school that's shut down is shut down by the state of New Jersey. The city has no authorization to open or close a charter school at all, zero. The state of New Jersey does that. The city has no control over that whatsoever. I wish we did have some control over it, which is a whole nother discussion, but we don't have any control over it. So that's what's happening. What's interesting, about the books is that, it really is a sign of where we are in a community, socially, economically. Most communities are moving away from books. We're still talking about the need for books, right? So, which means that we are completely in the Stone Age, right? So that most people are, and that's just our district and the thing that we're in. Most people they're handing out little USB things for kids, laptops, all kind of things. We still are trying to get enough books in our class. When you can go to a thing and get the whole book online, right? So we need to begin to start thinking about how to use technology to sustain our educational development in the city. We need to do that, absolutely. So, and then the district has to be responsible for that as well. The district itself has to be responsible for, that.
There's a question about a specific initiative to sort of put chips on containers that can give people money in return for recycling. Have you heard about that kind of thing, or would you be interested in something like that, where you can, like, if you put in a can, you get some money back from a container?
Oh, okay.
I've never seen those.
Yeah. Yes, it's the state is right. You said that.
There are communities, that was my question.
Yeah.
That do that. It's a process of learning and finding out if it's a valuable.
That's the state legislator. The brother just mentioned the bottle bill, which is true. It's been very difficult for us to get those kind of legislation passed on a state level. The way New Jersey works is that, locally we can't pass anything unless we get what's called enabling legislation. The state has to pass the floor legislation says we can do this, and then the city. So we can't add an additional tax to anybody for anything, even if we think it's beneficial, like a sugar tax or a plastic bag tax or any of those kind of things. We can't do that, right?
This was basically just a chip to give people incentives to recycle. They come by, they read the chip, they say, all right, House B has put in 200 pounds worth of recyclables.
Okay.
In return for that 200 pounds worth of recyclables, maybe they get a municipal credit of $10 or whatever.
We can do that. We can do that. But the reduction of the tax part is going to have to. We're going to have to. The state is going to have to weigh in on that part.
Okay, so the last two questions that I have here, I'm going to do just at the very end. I'm just going to give our, can I have everyone join me in a round of applause for our leaders here? I'm just going to ask if you guys have any closing statements that you want to make or anything like that. Okay, it's been a while. He's got to play a game. See, I come out of the health fair. So, because we're going to be doing a cleanup now, I want to actually specifically announce to thank Brenda Anderson, who's with us here today. She was recognized by the state of New Jersey for the Recycling and Clean Communities as Coordinator of the Year. Thank you to Brenda. And Brenda has facilitated us having tools for the cleanup today.
Can I, Veronica, quick question, please? My question is to you, is that I know you put out that new thing about the garbage. Smoke day.
Yes.
We're only 10 things.
Yes.
But if we, as a community, is helping you and we're cleaning up an area, and there's going to be more than that, you know what's be behind these houses. So they're not going to pick it up?
No, they're going to pick that up.
They'll pick it up if it's in front of the burn house?
Yeah, that's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the legislation is about what you can put out during bulk day itself.
Well, of course, nobody lives in the house.
We come pick up the garbage cleaned up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And some people put out their whole house.
Yeah, wow.
Mayor,
I also want to say thank you for coming to the West Ward. In previous
thanks
years,
for
I
having
have
me.
heard from people that the mayor don't come out here, but you do, and thank you for that.
Thank you.